Hey guys, this is Will, and I'm going over the work that I did to bring the art of the start level all the way through. Right now it's just in the start level of the game. We're thinking about having it as a more explorable place. And it actually started here. And this was initially made by Dante. He did a really good job kind of building in this double star effect. So he has this water effect on the ground and then this strange distortion above, as well as these highlight points along the pathing here where there's different objects that you could go up to and interact with. So the idea is that you would come up to this door at the end and it would portal you through. And it's beautiful. Great work off the bat. There's a couple bugs and issues with it, but it was pretty good as a first draft idea. This was all Dante. So the idea of kind of approaching these strange liminal pockets in this void and having this kind of shimmer effect overall. So I really liked the kind of base direction with this, the way that it highlighted certain areas and drew your attention and focus into it. But I wanted to make it a little bit more dreamcore, and I wanted to make it a little bit more aligned with the kind of purpose of the game. So we're using it now for the start level. That works for a number of different reasons. It works really well as a tutorial area as well. So I'll hop back on in a second and show you that. So now you can see the first pass at the start level. This was the first iteration to kind of get the idea that Dante had previously down with the Death Loop level area, but make it a little bit more special to this. So a couple of the changes I made was increase the global illumination so you can see this water and have it really stretch far into the distance. You can also see that I've added this as kind of a central point for the telephone and a clear player pathing option following under the water. I was really trying to get this surreal, dreamy feeling of an indoor space that's now merged with an outdoor space in this infinite void. You can see as well I started using fog volumes to really kind of like terminate the edges of the player's vision, so it really feels like, you know, it kind of encroaches on the player's space a little bit here, and it gives this kind of like strange, mysterious quality to the area. I've also changed the color of the background here to kind of make it a little bit more fleshy and visceral, so it's almost like a living thing. And then I've added these strange little dots in here. You can see them around in a couple points, but basically to add these extra points of light in the sky. Another thing that I did on this one you can see is that I made these curved surfaces that apply to this top area. So you'd see in the other version previously that if I remove these, it just goes on forever, and you kind of see this line that terminates in the distance, which works well to kind of create that sense of distance, but you can really see the edges of this warping effect really quite clearly in game. So by adding these in, you can see it makes it much more seamless. It feels like it's this strange quality to the universe itself that has this kind of distortion. You can see as well, it's introducing things like the biological corruption in early on, and this also has blockers so the player can't like walk off infinitely into the void. So this is kind of the first pass at this area past that, but there's a couple key issues here. First of all, it's pretty dead. You know, this is a very simple scene. There's also not really any movement. So if I play here, you can see that there's the movement of the stars, which is really nice, and this shader effect on the ground, which is really cool. It gives that kind of watery feeling, but there's not really much else going on right here. It just sort of points you straight to this end area. There's also no sound in here yet. So a lot of these changes are to make the world feel more strange, alive, and have more movement. So there's a lot more kind of positions to look out at, and then a lot more that kind of fills up the space and environment. So you can see these little vignette scenes that I've made here, and I'll show you in a second, they all float. So all of these kind of bob up and down. You can see as well I've added things into the mist here, so really kind of playing with that look and appearance. I've also added a floor here, so you can see this shimmering effect extend out into the water as it goes. And I've added animation to the phone, which I can get into in a minute. Additional changes that I've made here, I've added some big rocks and cliffs, and then I have some of these like organs, these are lungs specifically, with decals applied onto them. So this kind of gives like a weird mossy but also a corrupted effect in the look. Looking to the level as well, you can see that we've got sound work in, which makes a huge difference. And when I play the level here, we've added an animation. I can show that as well at the start that positions the player in the level in the world. We should have sound, probably an Fmod error issue. Anyways, if you look at these as well, they all float gently, so it's a way to kind of create that sense of movement and life to the scene. Especially in areas like this, you can see it's just this subtle thing, not bobbing up and down, but it really kind of makes everything feel alive. And then I've added these kind of lookout points as the player moves along. So the purpose for this, in part, is to give the player more to experience if they want to, but also to set this up as a tutorial space. So you can see that as the player kind of comes in, we have the tutorial volumes, and it's just a straight line that guides the player through. So it's a great way to show them how to move around with WASD, and then on overlap here, you can see it shows them how to interact. We've also built in animation to this phone, so I'll show the work on that maybe in another video. Basically, there's a couple different animations that are applied to it. For whatever reason, it's not playing right now, but you'll be able to see it in the level normally when you interact with this. that it has an idle animation that's going, and then another one that's tied to a blueprint system. So a couple of the behind the scenes here for how this is all working. You can see that we have a number of level sequences going in the game that apply to the overall environment animation. So let's start with those first. You can see that I've made a sub-level, so this is a level sequence where you can animate the different effects of the game. So opening up this level sequence, you can see basically I've got a bunch of different interactable objects, and you can see basically that they all have transforms on them that when I move along the timeline, bobs them up and down. So we've keyframed in positions for them. I've tried to offset all of their animations just by a little bit. So you can see that they're offset from each other to really give the feeling of a wave coming in and moving them. So you can see they move at slightly different times just to get that sense of an uneven wave and a bob. I've also added lights to just highlight them in the environment so you can really kind of see them even if it doesn't totally make sense. And we've also got, on the start of the game, we've got logic that plays animations. If you see, like, right off the bat, this animation plays every time. The play level sequence on start, this is a blueprint that we made. If you open the blueprint editor here, you can see that basically it casts to the game instance, so it's making sure that it's like in the current game instance. It checks the death loop count, so basically like how many times the player has died. This is really useful in cases like the train car, where we want to play the start level sequence once, not multiple times, every time that the player dies. And then it does once to play an event at the location, play the Fmod, and then it creates a level sequence player and then plays an animation. In the animation here, it's also got a blend state. There's a fade in, and there's also a camera cut change here. So this is a bind basically that wherever the player is starting, it's gonna move the camera location at the end over to wherever the camera is actually occupied. I think you can do it by just right-clicking here, and then you can see there's the can blend option, and then you can change the position of this just by dragging back right here this icon to show and indicate that kind of length time. I think you can right-click it to apply that. So there's a basically camera blend that makes sure that, say if I play from the start location, or if I play from somewhere like over here, whatever I do, it's gonna move me to that camera position to make sure that it's a smooth transition. We have that applied at a couple different points throughout the game. Yeah, so you can see I'm there, and then it pulls me back over. So yeah, quite a bit of information there. You can see the level art improvements and adjustments. Additionally, there's improved lighting in here, as well as the animation.